Hey YouTube, it's Dale from Zephyr Wargames. So I'm bringing you another deck profile. This one's been asked about quite a lot since the new release of BOSH coming out. So I'm bringing you a Burning Abyss deck. So without further ado, we'll go through the monsters and then the whole deck and the extra deck, and then we'll go through some alternatives that could be played in this deck. Okay, so we'll start off with the free new card, which is Fiendish Rhino. So what makes him really good and why people run him in BA is because when he's on the field, he negate the other Fiend type monsters you control can't be destroyed by battle or card effect, so it means your BA monsters aren't popping themselves, so they're going to stay live. Also, his second effect is when he hits the grave, you can send one from your deck to the grave. Again, a combo that most people are doing are Tour Guide, bring out Fiendish Rhino, overlay, drop Rhino, send Graph, and then constantly go from there. So first Burning Abyss card at 3 is Scam. So I will say quickly about Fiendish Rhino, he basically covers, not as good, but he does provide a decent replacement for your 2 Graphs that you've lost in the ban list and the 1 Seer. So yeah, 3 Scam, pretty simple. When he hits the grave, affecting the end phase, to search out another BA monster to set you up for your next turn. 2 Farfar. So when Farfar is sent to the grave, he banishes from your opponent's side. Really good against XE's monsters because obviously when they're banished, they lose their materials. And he's quite nice to have at 2, so that when you're bringing off your combos, bringing out your Dante, send him to the grave and remove maybe a power threat on the other side. 2 Rubik can be dropped to 1. It just gives you a bit more consistency to get into Virgil, which we'll see. I run 2 of those in the extra deck. 2 Seer. So when he hits the grave, he special summons another BA monster from the grave, so he's a must-have. 1 Libic can be bumped up to 2 with the way the meta's going, but when he hits the grave, he special summons from your hand. Now obviously all BA monsters have the same effect, where if you control those spell or trap cards, you can reveal the card and then special summon it, but then obviously their effect's going to be used once per turn, which means they won't get their grave effect. So he's quite a good one to send to the grave, to then special out another one without losing its effect. 2 Backjack. I did have this at 3. I just felt it got a bit cloggy, but it can work at 3. It's what I like to. It's the same as, for me personally, Darklaw. It's like a 50-50 card. Like sometimes it will pay off and the payoff will be amazing, but then when the payoff doesn't come, it kind of stings you. So we'll come on to Darklaw when we talk about other cards that can go into this deck. Obviously your 1 Graph, simple, sent to the graveyard, special summon a BA from the deck. Your 1 Tour Guide, special summon a Fiend monster from your deck, negate its effects, so you can summon any BA monster, and usually you'll overlay into Dante, send the BA monster, get the BA monster's effect, and do the mill. 1 Barbar, he's like your cowboy, burns for 900 by banishing 3 BAs. And then 1 Alich, this can easily be cut, which I think I might do actually. He negates a face-up effect on the field when he's sent to the grave, so it's really dependent on what type of deck you go up against. Okay, so that will be it. That's it for the monsters. So onto the spells. 2 Twin Twisters from the new ones, the new BOSH set. Obviously, by discarding a BA monster, you're going to get his effect anyway, and then you get to pop 2 spells or traps. So plus always off that. May include a Galaxy Cyclone in the spells as well, because obviously with the amount of milling you do with BA, having something in the grave that you can still use that isn't a dead card is perfect. 1 Dark Hole, because it's never really bad to pop your BA monsters. It could be taken out for a Regeki or add a Regeki in as well. Foolish Burial, because again, sending your BAs to the grave is never a bad thing. Well, unless they're running negation for the grave, and then it is. 3 Karma Cup, again, discard, get the plus off of what you've discarded, and then banish one of your opponent's cards, and then banish any of your opponent's cards with the same name in the grave. So that's, I mean, for example, Satellas hit this, and if they've already got Denebs or Altairs in the grave, you banish them as well. So that's a great one. Regeki Break. Now the reason I want this Regeki Bait is because it targets 1 card on the field and destroys it. So whereas Karma Cart is a monster, Regeki Break can get round back row. So that's a good one. Free engraving. So again, you send one from your graveyard, one fiend type from your deck to the grave, and then return one of your opponent's monsters from their grave to the hand. So with pendulums, it's become less necessary, which is why I've bumped it down to 2. It could be cut altogether depending on what deck you're facing, but it may be a side out card 9 out of 10 times. Scales, so it helps quite a lot when you can pop scales as well as others, and then you'll get the pluses off your BAs you sent to the grave anyway. 2 Traveller, again hit and miss card really. It can be stuck on your back row for a while, and maybe you activate it and bring you back 1 BA monster, which is none. Obviously by flipping this, the best one is doing it is if you've got Dantes with materials and they send your Dantes back to the hand or back to the extra deck, and then you're going to get the pluses of the 2 of those. So again, hit and miss card. Breakthrough skill, so that when you get rid of it or mill it, you still get its effect off in the grave. 1 Phoenix Wing Blast, this can easily be bumped up to 2, but again it's one of them cards that doesn't destroy a monster, so they can't get their effects off, and you discard to your plus. Solemn Warning, easily be changed for Notice, Strike now that it's called, and a Strike could easily just be added to this deck without much trouble. 1 Bottomless, 1 Vanities, 1 Skill Drain. Now not many people like the Skill Drain, but by playing the Skill Drain it gives you access to acid in your extra deck without having to pay the cost, and your BAs will still go off in the grave anyway. So again, this kind of like Dark Law and the rest, it's a 50-50 card, but the amount of decks that get hit with Skill Drain and get hurt by Skill Drain this day, if you can run it in a deck without it doing too much damage to you, then I would say run it. And then finally, Torrential Tribute. Standard, pretty much, Torrential Tribute. Yeah, not much more that can be said about that. So that's it for the main deck. Moving on to the extra deck. So I run 149, number 49 Fortune Tune. Not the best, but in a slow game, you know, you're gaining 500 life points during each of your standby phases, and it can't be targeted by card effects. And then when this card would be destroyed, you can detach 1 Xyz material from it instead. When this card is sent from the field to the graveyard, target 1 level 3 monster in your graveyard, shuffle that into the deck, and if you do return this card from the graveyard to your extra deck, you can only use this effect once per turn. So he recycles quite a lot, gives you a bit of a 500 boost, and then when he's popped, he's bringing back some monsters from your grave if you need to. 1 Levier, this can easily be cut. This mainly brings back your bar targets, and then, I mean, if your opponent's banishing your monsters. Mech Equipped, again, this one can be dropped for others. I mean, there's Giga Brilliant that could easily go in this extra deck. I definitely need a second acid in that, so that might be where Levier gets dropped off to. Your main card, 3 Dantes. Not much more needs to be said about this. So summon, mill 3, gains 500 for every card you've milled, and then when it attacks, shifts into defense. And then obviously with new support coming out in gold, or believe it's gold, you can overlay him into Beatrice, whereas now you're still overlaying him into Down of Magician. 2 Virgil, so when he's popped, you get to draw a card, and also you can discard 1 BA monster. Is it 1 BA monster? No, discard 1 Burning Abyss card, so if you've got any dead BA cards in your deck, drop those, and then Virgil gets to return one of your opponent's monsters. Yeah, one of the cards your opponent controls are in their graveyard and return it to the top of their deck. 2 Nightmare Shark for when they're defending or they're trying to see out the game. You just do a direct attack. There's your 2 Down Magicians that you overlay onto your Dantes when your Dantes are out of materials. 1 Ghost Street Alucard, pretty simple and standard. 1 up Zen Mains. and 1 acid golem definitely would bump this up to 2. It's just being used in one of my other decks at the moment, but it would definitely a 2 card. So there's many that can be dropped to make way for that. Okay, so not really a side deck, but these are other alternatives or cards that can be put into the deck. So obviously people can run Marsh Change 2 for Darklaw. Now, like I said with Darklaw, it's a hit and miss card. You play him out, your BAs will constantly pop themselves, but obviously it shuts down your opponent, so it's quite questionable. So you've got the 3rd Batjack, a 3rd Regeki Bake, 3rd Fiend Griefin, a Dark Hole, and some people can play Wolf. Again, he's definitely like a Darklaw, but you mill him. So if you mill him, you special summon him, and you've got a 2100 beater on the field. Other than that, not much use. 2 Black Horn of Heavens, a Phoenix Wing Blast, Calvrak, Good and Evil, the Burning Abyss. That's quite a good one to be ran. They're just other BA cards that you can possibly think of. And then definitely a 2nd Libic can be boosted up. So yeah, obviously with the amount of milling that you do with your BA deck, you're going to want to try and have cards that are going to be on the field that will, that when you mill to the graveyard, you can still use. So your Breakthroughs, your Galaxy Cyclones, and other cards like that. So thanks for watching. I hope this was helpful and useful for you guys. Please leave a comment, like and subscribe to the Zephyr Wargames channel for us, and we'll bring you loads more Yu-Gi-Oh videos, matches, deck profiles, box openings, duels, everything we can possibly get up there. Don't forget to subscribe and like. Cheers guys, bye.